So we're in Advanced Steel and we're taking a look at our stair macro, and in particular we're going to be looking at the special part tread arrangements. So for this version we were asked to take a look at the treads which are used under the stair macro, in particular the special part ones, and previously we'd offered a bolted arrangement. It was typically used in a grating type tread to give a more accurate representation in the model. Several users requested that we actually introduce a welded option. So for this version, we've brought that into the system. So the first part of this that you need to look at when setting this up is under the special part manager. You need to come into the treads category under here, and obviously you would add a new line into the system here and set it to be welded. Now, what we've actually done is change the dialog interface slightly under the parameters element here, and obviously you have bolted or welded. You have a little information button here which is telling you what's actually happening and what is being influenced inside the stair macro. You'll notice that when you change to the welded type tread, the only options available are 1 to 3. The other options are grayed out. Now, these are typically seen under the bolted type tread, where from items 4 to 7 are then enabled, because obviously you need to complete the diameter of the hole, etc., the second position, slot length, etc. So for this version we've added an example of a welded tread assembly to give the users some idea of how to go about using this within the tool, and obviously adding it to the stair macro. The same process uses as previous. You just add a tread here and then save it. Obviously you need to upload a file, so you need to have your 3D file present first of all, and then you can name it as you wish. So bearing in mind we've got this generic 3 welded type, let's take a look at how this works within the staircase itself. So if I now move to the stair macro and obviously open up the macro itself, so let's open the joint properties for that. And let's move to the tread tab. So under here also we've had to make some changes into the dialog. So you'll see here the special part tread is still the same, so we're going to set to that, and we'll see the treads change in the model. And then if we then change to the dimensions tab here, and this is the first change that you will notice in this version. Previously we had all the other information relating to the special part tread connection placed below on this dimensions tab. In this version now this has been moved to the connections tab, which I will come to in a second. You'll see here the listed available special part treads. So under here you can now see the generic welded type. So if I change to that one, you don't see a lot of change here obviously in the dialog. There is a physical change in the model because I deliberately modeled this as a different type of tread to show the change. But more importantly now, if we change to the connections tab here, we can see that the only option we have available is actually the welded tab here. All the other options are grayed out and locked because we're only allowing the users to access the weld, and in particular the weld on the stringer. And obviously in here you can change the size of the weld, the location of the weld, etc., and the type. So that is the main difference that you will see now with the welded option. The connection details are placed under here, not under the actual dimensions tab. So I'm just going to change back actually to my generic 2 version here and just show the change for the bolted option. So obviously we have the tread there, and we can come back into the connections here, and we can now see that the bolts tab is active. So previously you would have seen this under the dimensions tab. We moved it into the connections so that it's more in line with how we do standard connections for the standard type of treads. Again, you will find certain fields are grayed out within the dialog, as obviously they're not accessible and not needed because obviously the arrangement information is set out inside the special part manager when you define the tread under that interface. You can still access the bolt diameter and change the bolt diameter, but obviously be aware that the hole size in the tread is fixed from the special part tread under that manager. So that's the small change that we made. It looks quite small, but it is quite important to the special part treads. We changed the way that you could bolt them or weld them by adding in the option for the welded tread, which led us to change some of the GUI interface both in the stair macro itself and also within the special part manager.